Wow.
Good evening, you lucky people. Facebook Live number 2 of the day, and I'm joined by this guy even, Stan Mediri.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, viewers. Good to be here.
Stan, what have you been doing today?
Hey, man, it's nice and warm, hasn't it been? So, yeah, took all my workstations out in the garden. So, under a shade of a tree, that's where I spent most of the day.
Excellent.
Brilliant day. Yeah.
You must be itching to get back on the running track, though.
It is, yes, because, with the way the weather is, it's just simply, nature invites you to go out there and, you really want to just get back on it and do what you enjoy doing, release your passions within that sport that you love doing.
Brilliant.
Within the constraints of the circumstances, of course.
Excellent. So tonight, Stan, you're going to be giving away all your secrets, aren't you? So we're going to be learning a lot about running technique. So if you've got any questions about running technique or about burning questions in particular, so you might not be able to answer them to anyone, or there might be not stuff on the internet that you're going to be able to find, but Stan's your man. And if you want to ask questions, just drop them in the comments box below. And if you're not watching right now and you're watching the replay, then you can also put the questions down there. If you just put #run, and we'll come back to you and we'll find out a little bit more about the question and how we can help you as well. So we'd love to be able to help you out. So Stan, so
yeah,
running technique, what's it all about?
Yeah, well, it is admittedly it is an area of interest for many people, runners, beginners, intermediates, and advanced runners. It's the question that people want to find answers to. How do I run? Basically, how do we run? What is the best way to run? What is the proper way of running? Is there a particular way of running that gives you an advantage, or that makes the whole running experience a pleasurable one and an easier one and a more fulfilling one in terms of performance? So that's where the technique and all the questions, that's where they sit, and the fascination or the interest, to focus on technique, it comes in. It usually also comes from the fact that during a race, people are looking on to the people that have won that race or performed well in a particular race and wonder if the way they run is the way that has given them that advantage to perform well. So that's the whole inquiry with technique, running technique.
Brilliant. So there's lots of literature out there about running technique, isn't there? But it can be quite controversial when people look at it online in particular. So there's lots of online gurus which hopefully we don't get. Well, we probably will get tainted with the same brush as well. But running technique is quite a controversial area, isn't it? Because everyone's got their own ideas about that.
Yeah, it is. I think the controversy comes in, in my opinion, from the fact when it is being made out to be something that is out there that anyone should be, when it is made out to be the magic bullet for everyone, a specific and a specific way of running that should suit everyone. I think that's where the controversy is. I look at technique in the same way that you look at walking. There are not any two people that walk the same. But what is important, why we all walk, is because we all do the basics, the natural basics. We do them right. That's why we all walk, in spite of our different walking styles. Yeah. So the controversy really still comes in when we say we all must walk the same and we all must run the same, or there's a particular way of running that is the correct way of running. That's where the controversy comes in.
Yeah, no, very interesting, very interesting. So Stan, I've got a question for you. What would you say is what's correct running technique if there's no ideal? How would you define the correct running technique?
I think what I would And to respond to that, Steve, I would possibly ask the question is, what an athlete or a runner would want to ask themselves is, in taking part in running, what do they want to achieve? And how do they want to achieve it? So if people are running and in the process of running, they are spending too much to accomplish or get those running outputs, then probably how part of running is something that they want to be, it's something that they probably want to be looking at. Technique is very personal in my book. Technique is a very personal thing because it is correlated to one's neuromusculature. It's related to one's, skeletal, form, if you like. And therefore, it's about optimizing those fundamentals of movement. That's what technique is. Optimizing the fundamentals of movement. And the fundamentals of movement are the same for everybody. You want movement efficiency. That's the first thing that you want. So any technique that you're looking for should be the one that is able to ensure that there is the optimal efficiency in one's running, optimal efficiency in one's movement. That's the first goal of any technique. So it's not the form or the shape of how one looks like when they're running. It is about the function. It is about what they are doing to bring about the running. That's what is important, with as regards technique. So is there movement efficiency in what they're doing? Are they able to achieve the running motion, with minimal, with minimal hindrances or with minimal inhibitions, with minimal braking systems within the body, and do that with a healthy and safety output as well? That is, for me, the objective or the end point of what a good technique is, and not necessarily a particular running form.
Okay, brilliant. So obviously running technique is really important because it allows you to become efficient or more powerful, or allows you to achieve the goal when it comes to running. But why do you think running technique is so important, and why is it important people really focus on improving it and look at breaking it down and building it back up again?
Yes, because it is the vehicle, it is the medium that will help you accomplish your running goals. Your technique is what will help you accomplish your running goals. How? Because it's your technique. Someone said, it's plus minus. You can only run as quickly, or you can only run as fast as your technique allows you. That's how important it is. In other words, a technique can hinder your movement task or your movement goal, your running goal. Your technique can hinder that from a mechanical point of view, and also from a health point of view, in that what you are generating is not exactly being utilized, all of it, to help you to get to the end point. And in the process, there's too much wear and tear in the body, within the body's neuromusculature, because of there not being any coordinated movements, either within the muscles itself or amongst the muscles themselves. Coordinated movement, So that's what I would be looking at myself, really, regarding technique.
Brilliant. So if you've just joined us live on Facebook or on YouTube, then stay tuned and we'd love to hear about some of the comments that you have, or questions that you might have when it comes to running technique and how to improve it. Stan is the man when it comes to doing these kind of things. So we'd love to get some comments or questions back for Stan. But Stan, running technique, where do people start learning about running technique?
The best place to start learning how to, technique. I think, let me, at this point, Steve, just try and separate something that becomes, which is a common problem I've noticed, in interacting with the athletes. It's where there is a confusion between style and technique. Now, style is just, style has something to do with form, it's something to do with appearance. It is, whereas technique is something to do with capacity to function, to bring about a mechanical output. That is what technique is. Style is the position of the head that is not influencing or affecting the movement outcome.
Yeah.
Style is the position of the fingers, or the way the arm is swinging, which is not compromising the force that is required to make to make that movement. So there needs to be a distinction between a running style and a running technique. I'll take Michael Johnson, for instance, the American 400-meter runner, who had a very different running style, compared to his peers of the day. He ran right upright there. The running style was different from the conventional running style for everyone, but the running technique was the same. By technique, meaning the functional component of what he was doing within that style was the same as everyone else. So
yeah.
That's what it is. Those two have got to be separated, and that's where I would start with an athlete, anybody trying to, people that are starting out with learning a technique. Where do you start? Was your question there, Steve. How do I get it? Like any other learning experience, technique has, like any other skill, technique has got to be learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technique has got to be learned. It has got to get to a point where one needs to understand through reflection or coaching, understand how effective your current technique is, and where within that, where within that technique are there barriers or are there inhibitions to the movement task that you want to accomplish. And therefore, once that has been established, is how can we get rid of any inhibitions or any breaks that are impeding you towards achieving your movement task. Yeah. So the first thing is, for me, remove the barriers in one's technique, remove the inhibitions in one's technique, so that what is fundamental and that is good, that stays in. And then we start building up. You start building up on top of what is good, and building up on anything else that is important that needs to be added, to what they've got. But it has got to be within an individual athlete's own walking or running gait. That's where that has got to take place.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. So that leads quite nicely into the next question, Stan. So where do you start learning about running technique? Because it's a cyclical movement. So how do you go about breaking it down to be able to decipher it, to be able to teach people how to learn how to run properly? Yeah,
where I would start is probably something that I've already alluded to. I'll let people run and then find out where in their running cycles they are losing a lot of what they are intending to accomplish. That's where you're starting from. So it's not necessary for every runner to go out and do running drills, for instance.
Yeah.
Because some of those running drills might not really be a problem for them. They could be fixing something that is not a problem within their running technique anyway. For instance, they go and do ankling, or they're going to do what is called high knees, or whatever running drill that they do, which is meant to be a technique issue. But if that intervention is not treating anything, it falls within like any other sort of treatment. If it's not treating any issues there, then it probably is a waste of time on their part. So it has got to be learned first based on what are the issues, what problems are there within the current running technique and current running style, if you like. What are the issues? And then that's where to start with it. And actually start with the basic ones and the most influential, the ones that have got the most impact on their running outcomes, those are the ones where you want to start from.
Terry Vaughan just said it's very interesting. So thanks very much for sharing that, Terry. It's great to see you again and good to hear back from you. Terry, have you got any questions with regards to running technique? How do you go about thinking about your own running technique and improving that? So what kind of things do you look for in your own running technique, and or do you not? So Stan, there's some good books on running technique, aren't there? Good books are a good place to start because the theoretical and constructs of the mechanics get written down and documented. So that's been quite a good thing. But there's some really good books that come to mind for me. But where would you say your running technique would be best dictated in terms of being written down? Are there particular books that you would reference to people if they wanted to learn about running technique?
Yeah. What I would recommend are not necessarily titles, as it were, because those would be limiting them. What I would recommend are what themes to look out for in whatever book or whatever literature that you're looking to read or you have got access to read. It is the first ones that I would recommend is learn how to move well before you learn how to run well, because that leads into running well anyway. Books that teach us about the efficiency of movement, the correct way to move. Books that increase one's awareness of movement patterns and movement mechanics. Those are the books that you want to read. Books that help you reflect on your own running technique. Those are the books that you want to read because they help you then develop your own running technique, as it were. Whereas if we went for some books that look at specific athletes and teach the movements of specific athletes as they be and end all of any running technique, those ones I'm a bit wary of them because they do not represent, every athlete, because every athlete is different. It's the books that talk about the fundamentals of movement, the fundamentals of running, those which are the same, irregardless for everybody, irregardless of the level of competition. Those are the type of books that I would recommend, beginners, intermediates, or even advanced athletes. Let's deal with the books that talk about the fundamentals, that talk about the biomechanics and the execution of all movement patterns. Those are the type of books and the literature that I would recommend.
Yeah. So Stan, we've got a question in the comments box from Terry Vaughan. So as you can read there, he said, it's a good question and he focuses on midfoot strike and core strength has made him more upright. So do you have any advice on where to start when it comes to changing your foot patterning in terms of where it's hitting the ground, or what's your professional take on that?
Yeah. This is where the problem is. When we start making prescriptions about a running technique, that's where the problem comes in, because the issue has got to come from a particular athlete. What are their issues regarding foot strike? What about their foot strike is not helping them to accomplish their movement task within their event and within a phase of that race or within a phase of whatever they're doing? A foot strike is meant to achieve different movement outcomes in different parts of the race. I'm thinking about the long distance runners. Even for short distance runners, the foot strike changes between the acceleration phase. It will change when they are transitioning. It will change when they are at top end speed. Foot strike is determined, if anything else, it is determined by the velocity of the foot. That's what it determines which part of the foot strike is right. If the athletes are costing, yes, they can afford, by the nature of biomechanics, they can afford to go mid-foot. But once they start accelerating for that final lap or that last mile or that where they start looking for speed, things will change. Nature demands that the foot position changes Otherwise, they will not accomplish the desired output, which is speed. It puts speed into their races. So foot contact, for me, it is something that it comes in as responding to the need of a running pattern, or rather a running task at a certain time during the race. That will change from time to time, especially for long distance runners.
Do you think that's where some of the issues happen, that people get stuck in their mind that they should do this or they should do that? And it leads to ultimately people end up coming to see me because they've got injuries. But do you think that happens?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Steve, because look at it this way. If I'm going to go and if I have taken on the education that I'm a heel striker, I strike with a heel. That's fine if the body's running velocity is low. Just like when we are walking, we land with our heels, there's no problem there. Okay, because of the velocity, the limb velocity at foot contact. But once we start increasing the limb velocity at foot contact, the body naturally starts shifting to the to the front of the foot, through the midfoot, going forward, depending at what level we are doing it. Now you can imagine what will happen if I'm stuck with just one and not responding to what the body requires to do because of the velocity that I'm traveling. In other words, I'm almost fighting my own body, and I'm fighting nature because of a perception or an understanding that I'm a heel striker, or I am a mid-foot striker, or I am a forefoot striker. It has to change to meet the movement task and the foot's velocity at foot contact.
Yeah, yeah. So Terry's just saying that he tries to make a figure of four movement like the elite runners do. Stan, just describe to us what the figure of four movement is, so that other people might be able to understand that.
A figure of four,
yeah.
Did you say? I'm not sure what he refers to with that one.
I think what Terry's referring to is the angle that his the opposite leg is getting to. So as it comes through and his knee comes through, it reaches
transition. Yeah.
So he's got his knees at an optimal height and his ankles are crossing over his foot. So when you're looking at a side view, Terry, just correct me if I'm completely off the mark with that, but I'm pretty sure that's what you're referring to. What's your view on that, trying to hit that body position? Because that's quite a difficult thing to hit, isn't it?
It is. And first of all, that's the correct position that you want to do. It's actually the knee transition.
Yeah.
That's a knee transition, so that the knee and the hip and all the joints are in alignment by the time that the recovery foot is transitioning to go into an attacking position. It's preparing for ground contact. So that has got to be done quickly. Yes, that's the way to do it. But the point that something that would need to be understood by that is, because of it's not an easy, as you pointed out, it's not an easy part of a technique for anybody to do, because it requires a certain level of postural integrity to achieve that.
Yeah.
It requires a certain level of muscular timing to achieve that. It requires a certain level of joint alignment to achieve that. Now, that comes with a lot of learning and a lot of coaching to bring it about, because that's top and precise movement to achieve that one.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Really good. Really good. So if you had, I guess it all comes down to very individual makeup, doesn't it? So it's not like a one size fits all when it comes to running, but
No.
what are your views on the midfoot, forefoot, rear foot, barefoot in mechanical propositions when it comes to running? What are your views on that?
Yeah, I think that all positions are okay. All positions are fine. Heel, midfoot, forefoot, barefoot, all are fine. What makes them better one over the other is basically the one thing I've mentioned: the velocity of the foot at foot contact at ground contact rather. That's what decides which one of those tools one needs at a particular time. If you're talking about tools in a toolbox, if you like, when do I need which tool to accomplish which task? All of them are fine, but to leave out any one of them from that toolbox, you're going to run short depending on the movement task that you will come to face as a challenge on a particular time. Yes, all of them are fine. It's knowing when each one of them must be used within a particular or specific movement task that you have set yourself to do.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. So, Terry, I'm just going to put your comment up on the screen. It's quite a lot there, but so Terry was basically running like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So it's quite a common thing that you see, isn't it? So people that pick up running, they work a lot during the week. They go running at weekends. They're running as if they're stuck in a desk, and their postures are kind of curled over like this. It's a very common thing to see, and certainly one that we end up having to put right in clinic. So well done to you, Terry, for sorting that out. Terry, I'm interested to see, did you encompass, I know you encompass a lot of core stability work, but I'd be really interested to hear about any kind of hamstring work or any other conditioning work that you did alongside that. So Terry, let us know about what else you did. But Stan, do you see a lot of runners like that? They're kind of semi-professional, or well, not really semi-professional, but recreational stroke plus runners.
Yeah, definitely. You see a lot of that because people just add speed to the way they walk. You see people walking like that anyway. You know, most people would, you see lots of people walking with, with all these movement inefficiencies, even at the walk level. Yeah. And then all they do with running is just put some velocity in it, which is really, it becomes huge issues because they haven't thought about what they look like when they are running, because it's not very a common thing for us to stop and look ourselves and decide, how am I walking? How is my walking? We don't do things like that because at the velocity, at the low level that we do walk, we don't realize all the movement patterns that are really wrong because of the low velocities at which we are walking. But they will come out once we increase those velocities in something, in an activity such as a run. That's when we start feeling the calf ache. That's when we start feeling there's a pain there's a niggle here and a niggle there. It's not because of the running that has brought it about. The running has simply accentuated movement patterns that we are doing even when we are walking. So yes, definitely we do see a lot of that. And it's only when you start raising people's awareness to these movement idiosyncrasies that they probably want to look at, that's when they start taking, start thinking about it and wondering. And it's a common response I get, Steve, on the coaching ground, and I'm sure many coaches, they get the same. I never knew I run like that. I never knew that's the way I walk. Because people basically it's not something that you do every day to reflect on how you walk, let alone how you run. Until there's an injury, that's when people start thinking about, wow, what happened? What's wrong with the way I'm running? As long as there's no injury, people will run the way that they feel comfortable to do so. Even though that format might not be in itself very efficient to their movement goals and running goals.
That's brilliant. So Stan, we're actually looking for some people that want to come and join. I think there's 1 or 2 places left on your running technique session, isn't there? So so how do people get involved with that, and what happens on their sessions?
Well, on those sessions is exactly what we are talking about here. And so there's a lot of focus on the skill component of running. runners they do get all manner of opportunity for them to run at clubs or in their individual selves. But where there's a shortfall is where we're looking at the skill of running. So the different components within the running cycle. So that's what the session is about, to get people to start reflecting on it, and then also to get a few technique drills to help people based on whatever it is that they would have found themselves to be, oh, this is where I am lacking, or I think that is my problem, or that is an issue with my running technique. How can I solve it, or what drills do I need to do? That's the type of session that, you know, that's the type of content that is available within that speed skills session online, Steve.
Brilliant. I mean, that sounds fantastic, Stan. Really good. So that session is taking place quite soon. So if you want to take place in Stan's running session, just leave your details in the box below. If you comment the word run below, that would be great. We'll cycle back and then be able to get you included in the session. So if it's something you'd like to come and do, then that would be great. So Stan, just before we go, what do you got planned over the weekend? You said the tracks are going to be open again soon, aren't they?
Yeah. The opening of tracks really has been left to different authorities that run these tracks.
Yeah,
you know, it's for them. But what we are aware of, what has come out from the England Athletics is a guidance document, you know, for return to restricted activity, as you know, as it has been aptly, you know, named because of the, you know, circumstances that we find ourselves in. So it is people are allowed to go back for some running activity, but in a very restricted way. And the restrictions being really a transference of all the social distancing that, you know, rules and regulations that people have been exercising. Yeah. So social distancing is the key one. And so because of social distancing, it is not possible for running groups to go back just yet. If there's any running that's taking place, people want to do in running, it is all in a group of 2, or a coach and an athlete. That is allowed. And so, in as much as that is allowed, everything else still falls in within the guided, you know, the given guidelines on social distancing, you know, and all the hygiene that, you know, that has been recommended and people have been advised, you know, to apply, to employ. So that's what's happening on that front.
Excellent, good. But you can't wait to get back on the track there, can you?
Yeah, man. It's been a while. It would be nice to get back there and, you know, make a contribution, shall I say, make a contribution to people that want to, you know, enjoy their sport and improve their performances in the process.
Excellent, brilliant. Thanks, Stan. Thanks. So it's that time of the night again. What would say your top 3 tips are for helping people improve their running technique?
Yeah, the first one is understand what inhibitions you have within your running technique.
Yeah.
It's important first to find out, become conscious of what incompetencies you have in your running technique. Because unless you become conscious, it will be those incompetencies will just stay in until something comes out of it as a consequence, and it usually is an injury. So establish it early, and then start fixing it up. Because guess what? Every movement pattern has come about because of learning it. And so we can unlearn it, we can decondition and get out of that movement pattern. No one is born with movement patterns. No, we acquire them. And therefore we can change them, we can tamper with them, because the mind and the brain and all, because of neuroplasticity, all that is changeable. So that's the first point there. Identify incompetencies and do something about them, and understand and believe that it is possible, regardless of, you know, where you are within your running, you know, your running age, beginner, intermediate, advanced, for how long ever you've been running or you've just begun. Anything can be changed. anything can be improved upon. So that's the first one. The next one, having identified what incompetencies you've got, the next thing is sort yourself out insofar as postural integrity is concerned. Your posture is key. Look at your body as a vehicle and passengers. Your legs, your limbs are the passengers there. The whole vehicle is the trunk that has simply got to be there to stabilize. It's a structure that is stable, that allows the limbs then to be able to move, to move. So that structure has got to be sorted. I know we go on a lot about core strength, but the body has got many different cores. And all those cores need to be strengthened in themselves, not just where we are fixated with abdominals and the midsection of the body. Every core has got to be sorted out so that the structure is right, so the limbs are able to function freely within that. Yeah. And then the next one there, the last one then is, once you have fixed the body, then let's move on to the speed skills. Skill up each limb to perform every phase of the running style, rather of the running cycle. Every phase of that running cycle has got to be attended to be optimized. So those would be my 3 areas of focus, and those are the ones that I would recommend to runners, regardless of where they are within their running journey.
So, yeah, Terry Vaughan would like to give a tip. So he said to run from the trunk. So that's fantastic advice, Terry. Running posture is very important. But yeah, thanks for the contribution. That's brilliant, mate. So Stan, we've come to the end of the session.
Yes, Steve, it's been a brilliant one. Enjoyed it thoroughly myself.
It's certainly a big topic to talk about.
It is. Yeah, so difficult to exhaust. Yeah, because the challenges and the controversies are plenty.
Supplementary world of running training, aren't we? So we're going to be talking about more S&C related subjects in Sunday's running power hour. Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. So if you've joined us late, you missed a fantastic session. Terry's been asking some great questions, so thanks very much, Terry.
Thanks, Terry.
But brilliant. Yeah, don't forget to join us live on Facebook again. We're also going to be on YouTube and LinkedIn from now on as well, so we're going to be hitting it all up. But we'd love to be able to help you guys out with your running technique and help improve some of the issues that you're getting, to help prevent you get some injuries and help you run faster and more efficiently. So that's my vision, that's Stan's vision, and hopefully you'll share the same vision. So you'll join us on a Wednesday and a Sunday night live on Facebook. But just join us here, that'd be great. And we'll look forward to seeing you then. But for now, it's bye-bye from me.
Bye-bye from me too.
Take care, guys. Have a nice evening and have a fantastic bank holiday weekend. See you on Sunday.
Yeah, have a super one.